everyone, this is Debu Baruah. I'm supporting GSK as an Associate Director, Data Analytics. And let me quickly take you through the topic. So we'll be talking about augment data, people, and decisions with clinical citizen data scientist. All right, let's understand each jargon or each term one by one, and we can build on the whole topic. Well, fair disclaimer, opinions expressed are solely my own and do not express the views or opinions of my employer. Okay, back to the basics first. Let's set the ground. I'm talking about augmenting data, people, decisions. I'm going to talk about promoting dynamism and diversity with clinical citizen data scientist. So I think the term data scientist is close to solidified. People understand in the whole industry what do you say when we say data scientist? Folks understands that. But when it comes to the clinical citizen data scientist, probably this is not a very popular term. It's not socialized yet that much. We will talk about it, why we need it. Does it exist, or it's just probably we are at this moment envisioning. And then clinical data scientist. I would like to emphasize on that term. What is a clinical data scientist versus the data scientist that we assume and presume in the whole industry, other industries, other than the clinical research fraternity? So I think Society for Clinical Data Management, they have put a lot of effort around this term clinical data science, and it is differentiated and probably coined as the evolution of the clinical data management discipline, maybe a bit beyond where a clinical data scientist would be able to understand the complexities of the protocol. The recent protocols, which are very complex, should be able to drive it with a data-driven mindset. And the more focus is towards the process, the domain, the analytical capabilities, so that they can draw insight from data and take quicker decision. In a nutshell, in a layman's term and understanding, that's how I would like to define a clinical data scientist. In the contrary, the clinical citizen data scientist, as I have said, it's probably a newer term and probably we haven't heard much about it. And in the upcoming slide, I will tell why we need it, what's the demand, and why probably in this whole data-driven world, we need those talents with us. Okay, this one is an oversimplified Kano model. So if you look down, you can see that there were some of the elements. Think about it as a product or as a solution. Any end user would prefer to have dashboards, visualizations, and probably insights from very complex data sets. We use different products, different technologies to draw insight from clinical data, and it is consumed and digested by different fraternities, different disciplines, medical data reviewers, safety reviewers, or probably the clinical data managers. How do you do it in an easier way? There are two sides of it, according to me. One, that is the development side. I cater to that. I lead a team of data analysts and data scientists, and they create the solution and give it to my end users. Now, the problem is that most of those discussions are towards the need of the end user, which is very important. But the side that I see is probably the other side of the coin, where we develop and we face a lot of problems and difficulties if we do not choose the right product or we do not probably use the right technology. So let's talk about it. Well, think about the car. Would you purchase it or would you use it if there is no brake? Of course, you wouldn't. And that's my must be quadrant. We need security, governance, data source connectivity, data preparation, good visualizations, etc., etc. But what's beyond that? You know, you have a car, it's very nice. You have power steering, power windows. We are kind of like used to them. And for me, as a developer's point of view, there are few things. If it's not there, it's not a deal breaker, but it's tough. It'll make my life easier. Something like code development. I can deploy my SMEs, more than one, who can start developing those solutions together. How many of those solutions do we have? The catalogs. Now, if I have ready reference, can show it to my end user, start developing based on those, it's easier. Those are good to have things. Platform performance for us to develop and for our end users to use, consume, both are equally important. And if you are consuming any analytical support or services or product, you would be knowing that self-service DA is the thing. We need it. Well, now we need to understand that more and more we use those solutions, we get used to it. Just like the brake of the car. Now we need power windows. Now we need probably something fancier. Same way, self-service data analytics could be one very good example that we all desire, that it should be there. I should be able to do my things by myself rather than depending on somebody who's going to program and give it to me, isn't it? Now, let's talk about beyond the satisfiers that we have just now we have talked about them. Let's talk about something that is called as the lighter, something more fancier. Your vehicle is giving you much more mileage. You're happy about it. But if it is very low, you will be highly dissatisfied. But if it is good and you have some fancy features like raindrops are coming, your wipers are just, getting started automatically based on some sensors, it delights you. You're not habituated with it yet. You don't need it probably. If it's not there, you won't care much. But it makes a lot of sense when you keep on using them and it becomes your satisfier. Some examples are maybe a little fancier, natural language query. You just type in your requirement and the solution is popping up. We have some those kind of solutions, but for the very complex requirements that we cater to, are we there yet? Most probably we will be. May not be. Let's discuss. Augmented insights. Well, this is very important for me. This is exactly where we use algorithms and automate those insights for our end users to make their life a bit more easier and save a lot of time. Data storytelling, you have all the components like the headers, the narrative, etc., popping out automatically without putting much effort, and natural language generation that you have the dashboard, and along with it, you have a narrative that is telling you the most important insights that you need to concentrate on. So those kind of things excites and delight our end users more. Well, probably this is what is kind of like a immediate landscape that I understand personally based on my experience and communication with different stakeholders, be it the tech providers, be it the end users that I cater to, and what else? What basically we do. This slide depicts a very common way of developing analytical solution. It hasn't changed much over the course of time, where we go to the end user, we ask them, hey, what do you need? They will say that, I need a graph, I need a chart, and whatnot. And that's the most painful part, requirement gathering. We ask them and they provide us with the requirement. And then we start the development, the QC part goes on, and again we engage our end users where they perform user acceptance testing. And if everything goes well, we push the solution to production and our end users uses it. Well, you can see by the arrows, you can very easily understand that this is an iterative process and sometimes it takes time. Well, let's move on and see what else we have. Okay, more complexity. Now, end user, what they say, does, think, feels, and what the developer, programmer, what they understand and develop the solution. Like I call it the golden handshake, but it's a very difficult journey. It's a most difficult part where end users verbatim about what they say versus sometimes how they execute, how they use the solutions, what they practically take steps to perform their analysis. There are differences. On top of that, what they feel, what they think that this is what I should get. But when we give them something, they find it, oh, no, this is not what I was thinking about. It's complex, it's difficult. And I call it, I think it's a design thinking principle I have seen many years ago, and it's pretty popular. This is the part of the empathy chart where we try to understand what an end user says, does, think, and also feels. The feels component comes when you give them something which is complicated enough and they find it very difficult. Think about somebody who's a doctor, very used to see some of the common visualizations, the ECG reports, etc. And you give them something which is extremely tech savvy, and the person would say, hey, this is complex. We want something simpler. And you're not wrong. We need to simplify that part. So that's where the feel part, how do you mitigate that? The emotional effect. You give them something complicated, steep learning curve. How do you streamline? How do you simplify that process? We need to think about that as well. All right. Some of the focuses, I think before pandemic, you must have heard of solutions by a lot of experts that, hey guys, let the end user and developers sit in the same floor, maybe adjacent to each other and develop the solution, the co-development part. But now it's not possible. After pandemic, we understand that it's not as easy as it is sound, right? People maybe they're scattered across different geography. You cannot do that. And it's a very simple T where probably based on time the folks can invest, the level of knowledge, especially graphicacy, able to understand visualizations, digital literacy, the person how much he's used to the different technologies, and most importantly, data literacy. Do you understand clinical data the way a developer and end user comprehends? So based on these factors, what kind of length and breadth we can assume? So we can have a Canva walk where our developer will see what your end user is doing and then having an interview, probably a survey, some lightweight requirements, and understand the need of the end user. If you have more time and the expertise of graphicacy, digital literacy, data literacy permits, then you can have brainstorming, workshop, focus group, developing prototypes and MVPs, and generates the outcome. Well, more complexity. And then what? Nowadays, beyond the off-the-shelf product, the standard offering, we also have demand of innovation. So in the workplace, we need to innovate. We need to be more efficient. The demand is ongoing. Fostering the culture of innovation, that's what we call, isn't it? And then data is democratized, much more democratized than before. We can use different type of data, synthetic data. It's not impossible to experiment by itself. So end users are now much more capable, or I would say much more used to with, self-service data analytics, with the demand of innovation, with the data availability, easy to access technology. At the enterprise level, you have analytical tools, you start wrangling with your data, started creating your own small solutions to solve your daily hurdle, which probably a developer or a programming group like me, we may not see them. So you are catering to yourself by creating your own solution. and those are organic solutions could have a lot of value. Well, then what do we have to cater to the requirements and the problem statement that I have talked about so far? The age-old practice, the old school practice, is that a developer should have data literacy, should have domain expertise, and done. You tell me what you need, and that's it. I'm going to create and give it to you. So this is a flat structure of skill sets that we needed probably historically, but with the new advancement, with the current scenario, is it enough? Will you be able to cater to such complexities, protocol complexities, data complexity, different data sources, the volume veracity? Everything is spiking up. It is close to impossible to understand those needs for both the parties and catering to something which is much more easier, should be much more easier to comprehend. Well, that's exactly where I have started exploring that what's the best way? And it is nothing new. Having somebody who is capable enough, having sound knowledge of the domain, can cater to the analytical need, may not be probably a very highly proficient programmer, but have the analytical understanding, solid understanding of analytics, that's what I would call it, and able to upskill or reskill themselves to the requirement of clinical data science or a bit of the industry level of understanding of data science, can comprehend, partner, and develop agile project management and business analyst role, makes our life much more easier. But the question here is, who should be those people? Are they the clinical citizen data scientist? Do we have these roles in our wish list? Probably yes. But the debate is ongoing. As I have said before, who should be those people? Is it the tech group, or it is the folks who are the end users who's going to consume it? So that debate is still going on. Probably I don't have an answer who it should be, but from my experience, I'm seeing that folks who are very tech savvy can do the problem solving. Folks who has the strong clinical knowledge with the understanding, deep understanding of data and analytics, definitely can cater to it. So are they the clinical citizen data scientists? Most probably yes, they should be. And what we should expect from them, what they will foster, what they will cater to us in future. For me, our solutions, any analytical solution that I'm catering to, that we are catering to our end users like clinical data management, medical data reviewers, or the safety reviewers, and any other allied colleagues who need to make sense out of clinical data, our solution should be decision-centric. That decision science probably is not so much proliferated at this moment, but it has to. Our design should be composable enough. Pull out something that is not needed, plug in something that is needed. We need to be composable, we need to be dynamic enough. And our governances, this is very difficult. It should be shared or connected. Well, I'm telling you, this is not an easy deal. Different department, different fraternity have their own way of looking at things. But if somehow we can make them connected and shared, probably that'll help us a lot. And we need to invest a lot in literacy shortfall management from both the parties. That is the learning curve. We need to invest in that. And if we do all, what we get is context-enriched analytics solution. That means end users will be able to not only see trends generated by a programmer or a developer, they should be able to see the connectedness relationship and make complex decisions by enabling data analytics processes and capabilities by themselves based on the relationship between data and generate fast and quicker decisions and probably contribute for the drugs to come out to market faster. Well, that's exactly where I have initiated the discussion about the need of a citizen clinical data scientist, and hopefully we will get to discuss them more. Thank you so much, everyone.